corporatism
Yeah.
is when the capitalists lose sight of their customer base and just get taken over by dollar signs and then start working with governments and lobbyists to solidify their power so that they don't have any competition.
A major point in video game history has happened, and the final E3 has reached its conclusion. E3 will never return, as E3 is officially dead, coming from a Twitter post over on E3. Oh, a round of applause. Oh, wow. Look at this.
Oh, is this not? It's not good news. I thought this was great news.
I haven't watched E3 since like.
Who gives a shit about E3?
Diablo at E3?
Well, Craig does apparently. Look at him.
I don't know. Isn't that BlizzCon?
I think
the days of old.
Diablo Immortal on.
I'm all
E3.
for change.
You're making
Doesn't everyone have phones? Oh yeah, that one. Is that E3?
Yeah, I think that was E3.
They said after more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last, the time has come to say goodbye. Thanks for the memories. So that's from the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA. They're the people behind E3. 27.5 million views over on X. Okay, so E3 coming to an end. I actually have a lot to say about this, but I'll tell you what. RGT had a really good point about E3 being dead. So we'll get to that in just a second. E3 dying was definitely something that was going to happen. Everybody saw it happening. I predicted it a fucking decade ago. We all saw where this was going, the digital landscape. The super chat earlier talking about how Nintendo was one of the first people to put the death blow into E3 as they started producing the Nintendo Directs. And companies realize that they can control their message without spending literally millions of dollars over the course of a few days to ooh and ah 30,000 people, right?
Or spend millions of dollars and do it themselves.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
And still, once again, control the message. That's the biggest thing with all these things is when you would go on stage, and we're actually going to show this here in just a little bit. When you would go on stage, there is always an element of you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what made some of the best moments at E3 was the absolute fails, the horrible hosts, the what the fuck cringe moments that would happen at E3. But people remember E3 in a positive light because leading up to E3, you would have your presentations from Nintendo, your presentations from Sony and Microsoft, and they would give these big 90-minute to 2-minute, 2-hour-long presentations where they would just essentially run down all the games that were coming over the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. And that was extremely exciting and fun to watch. And before E3 actually opened the doors and you can go check out these games, you had a good idea of who, quote unquote, won E3 every year based off of those presentations. And while E3 is dead, I do think it's sad because I do think there should be it was gaming Super Bowl, right? But the idea of what E3 was a relic that belonged 10, 15, 20 years ago, pre-internet, pre-social media, pre-us, pre-geeks and gamers, pre-independent creators online, people with YouTube channels that can help you reach way more people than that presentation ever could. So it is sad to see it go, for sure. Do you guys have any thoughts on E3 that, I don't know, Adam, you were clapping. Why are you happy to see it go?
It's trolling.
Just trolling. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never ever been to E3 or watched E3 like live or anything. It's always been like someone talking about it or like whatever. I'm like, I've never been excited about it. Only in the last year when I've been like talking video games with you guys, where like we talked about the PlayStation event, Nintendo. It's like all these things, but it's like it's their own companies, and that just makes sense to me. Like, why wouldn't they do it? Like E3 just seems outdated anyway. I understand like those kind of events are fun though for gamers, but they've just been taken over. Right? I mean, I just feel like any of these big corporations, what they're doing, and I just instantly think of DEI, ESG bullshit. That's like I don't want anything to do with these places anyway. You know, Comic-Con was basically taken over, and this year they're like, well, we're not going to go. And then it turned out everyone who went had a blast because it was just the nerds, because
Right.
corporations were out of it. And I'm like, that's what we need. I want that. Well, can we get the E3 without the corporations? Like that, like sure, but the E3 to me represents like these massive companies that are so far removed from their customers, and I don't care about that anymore. I don't care about those companies.
Well, so to kind of further that even more,
Mm.
E3 was an industry event. Events like PAX, MagFest, anime, well, not anime, that's not really a gaming event, but those are community events, and community events will continue to thrive because those are built around community and the people that play these things. But the corporate events, there's no longer a reason for those to exist. Once again, because the idea of controlling the message. But I went to like 11, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 E3s. I mean, I mentioned this last night on Tuesday night's main event, but E3 is the reason why I got into the games industry. It's a reason why I started Screw Attack a long time ago, because I wanted to have access to go to E3 and see these games. And I told the story, but that one of my favorite memories of going to E3 was actually the very, very first E3 that I went to in 2006. And there was this was at E3's ridiculous, stupid hype, where you would walk in and I remember seeing a little half pipe, a skate ramp with people skating on it inside this giant convention center, and being like, what the hell? This is just absolutely insane.
I'd skate it.
And I also saw the Wii for the first time. That was the year that the Wii was announced, and I was one of the first 10 people in line to play that and that had a 6.5 hour wait at one point to play. It was really crazy to go there. And we went year after year after year, and it was always a big deal for us to go. And we'd spend a ton of money to go there. We'd never recoup it back. But for us, it was just about the adventure of going to LA every year and spending time in a shitty hotel room and with a bunch of people and eating shitty food, and then packing up and going home being exhausted. And it was more like a road trip. And I think that's the thing that I'm going to miss most about it, is having this physical destination to go and feel like you're around people that are like you. And then because that's the one thing about E3 that people don't understand, was there were a lot of people who were quote unquote journalists who were there. And there were a lot of people who were like your GameStop managers who were there. So there was that group of people. And then there was an entirely separate portion, which was built entirely around the corporate executives at these companies. That is where they met up. And this is going to sound really, really weird. And it's exactly what it was. It was like an ivory tower that looked over the floor because they had these massive show floors. And then up above, looking over it from behind, was where all these offices were, where all these corporate meetings were held. And it literally looked down on the show floor. And it was very much like an ivory tower. But it was, like I said, I'm sad that it's gone, but I would be remiss if I didn't take a look. Actually, our friends over at Melee Games put this out yesterday over on Twitter. I mentioned there was all these amazing, amazing fun moments of like, wow, I can't believe they're announcing this. This was announced. This wasn't announced, but there's also like crazy cringe moments that happened. And Melee Games put together a wonderful highlight package. I don't know if they took this from somewhere else, but let's just watch a couple minutes of this, because this was really, really funny when I saw this, and it brought back a lot of memories, which you guys may or may not have known. I've seen these, but just don't want to put this in perspective, because this is really, really good. Flawed, how you doing on that down there? You almost through it? Did you get it? Look at that, everybody. Hold on. Let's see it. Let's see it. I want to see it.
Yep, I got it.
Look at that. That's good stuff. Congratulations, Flawed. I've never got one of those. So this is the type of thing. This is what I'm talking about, when you would have an open mic and you put people who are socially awkward in front of that microphone.
Hi.
Nice.
Yeah.
He got the crowd in the palm of his hand.
Right.
This is so weird.
You ever wonder what the bottom of an avatar shoe looks like?
And there was always those moments in E3, which were great.
Well, bam! There it is. Hey,
Like,
want to come over
during it. That was the best when games would just mess up during them.
and play my Wii? Well, bam! There it is. Hey, want to come over and play my Wii? We should connect. And thanks to the Sony Move, here, hold my Joy Wand.
Whoa.
Yes, I'm not afraid of a few dick jokes. Thank you.
It's Ridge Racer.
Wow.
Ridge Racer.
First of all, I'd just like to say that these mics are fucking dumb. And I feel like an idiot wearing it.
Nice.
Don't act like you don't wear those during sex every single night,
these.
my friend.
Look at this.
you. You guys look great.
Oh my
Come on.
gosh.
Okay. So Aisha Taylor was a regular one for sure. Let's go about another minute here. This was probably Nintendo's lowest moment ever at E3 right here.
Oh my gosh. It's so bad.
Hurting my fucking ears. He sucks.
Stop.
Bring it down.
Oh my gosh, dude. He's horrible.
Oh, he has terrible volume control.
Oh, here we go.
How's everybody doing?
I remember. Oh my God, Jamie Kennedy hosting here. This is brilliant stuff.
This is exciting. We're at E3. And I just want to say this place is the only place that makes the guys at Comic-Con look like Ocean's 13.
Wow.
Almost.
Take a minute. Come
Could've
on.
went for
That
a better
was...
joke than that.
Oh, God.
Well, here, let me start by insulting all of you. Like, what the
Right.
fuck?
That's the way
He
it
could've
went,
made
man.
it funny. He just didn't.
Yeah, and that was.
I mean, he was
standard thing.
You can't tell a joke that's actually just truth. I mean, that's not a joke. That's just saying some truth. Like,
Y'all niggas
okay.
is lame.
Included in there, there's also like I don't know if you guys have ever seen the meme, the giant enemy crab meme from E3, where this guy was talking about his game and he's like, it's based off real events, and then it cuts back. He's like, and so here's this giant enemy crab. It's pretty outstanding. Let me see if I can pull
So
this up
wait,
really
real
quick.
events to a giant enemy crab?
Yeah. It's really pretty awesome. Here you go. Just check this out.
Not that you aren't.
How much am I getting paid?
The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
Hey, we don't know, man. You know,
Yeah, for real. Giants is a good conspiracy.
radiation, man. Made that some crabs might have just gone different paths. You know what the whole E3 thing reminds me of? It's like capitalism and versus corporatism, right? Free market capitalism is fantastic. Has brought more people out of poverty in human history than ever before in the past, 50 years. It's incredible. Capitalism is great. Corporatism is when the capitalists lose sight of their customer base and just get taken over by dollar signs and then start working with governments and lobbyists to solidify their power so that they don't have any competition. Right. And that's where it shifts. Like so many different companies will go from that. Like look at Blizzard. Blizzard's a great example where it was started by gamers who loved making games. They made fantastic games and then it shifted to corporatism. Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, same kind of vibe. I mean, almost every company goes through this where they get so big with success. It's so rare where a company is like, we're not going to do that. We're going to maintain. Like Nintendo, actually, they're pretty great about maintaining. We're just going to do Nintendo. Fuck all these other people. Fuck you, Fortnite. We don't need to work with you to
Sell you our skins or the icons.
maintain relevance. Like Fortnite wants Nintendo's stuff,
Bad.
but like Nintendo's like, no, we don't want that. We're Nintendo. We do our own thing. We don't need that shit. Right? Where Fortnite's like, we'll suck anyone's dick for
literally
money.
anyone.
Like that.
It's
That's
literally
the vibe.
everybody.
It's like ultra corporatism. And so like when I see E3, I'm like, it's no longer a free market. It's like these these corporation. It's like a corporation fest, where it's like, oh, we're allowing you to come and see what we're gonna sell you. And I was like, that's not the vibe of what you remember, Craig. Like you said, when you talk about E3 that you went to, I feel like that was when it started. And that's like when it was like, we really are excited about games. And when the gaming devs were socially awkward because they cared about making good games. Now it's like, it's these fucking actors that are coming out that have never even played a game, but they smile, they have big tits and sell because they know how to freaking like not insult the crowd, like Jamie Kennedy was insulting. It's like that we need those. That's like that was amazing. I love that.
Same thing you should have said. You guys have really big dicks. That's how we should have started it.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll say this. So RGT had a really good point about E3 dying. And he made an entire video about it, but I'll give you the TLDR on it. He talks about E3 dying and pretty much how Jeff Keighley back here, he is pretty much the guy who controls the messaging in the industry now with the death of E3. Because now Jeff has the Summer Games Fest and he has the Game Awards. And those are his two like tentpole programmings that he produces every year. And he's right. RGT is right. Like Jeff Keighley actually wields way too much power now in the industry. And he is the guy who he can make or break games. It's gaming is this is his thoughts. And I actually do agree is whatever Jeff Keighley's visions for video games is, that's what the gaming industry will turn into over the next couple of years, unless there's an alternative. This goes back to there's a monopoly on this based off of the shiny goodness of the Game Awards and the Summer Games Fest.
I don't agree. I see this huge amount of pushback against the Game Awards. Oh, Spider-Man 2 didn't win. Oh, it's what was it? Baldur's Gate 3? Like, why did Baldur's Gate 3 win? It's a trash game. And it's like, dude, what I'm seeing is gamers are going, we're not going to support trash anymore. We're going to support what we think is good. And that, like, whatever Keighley thinks is good, it doesn't matter. I feel like the gamers are coming out and going, we know what good games are, and we know these indie developers like Fun Pimps I mentioned earlier, 7 Days to Die, or Gunfire Games who made Remnant and Remnant 2. Like these smaller devs are actually getting their due because Vampire Survivors was a $3 game. It's going nuts. Now it's doing a freaking collab with Among Us. Like it's a small little developers, but like they're getting the love from the fans because the fans want good quality shit, not to be told what's good. I don't know anyone who looks at the Game Awards and goes, I'm going to base what I'm going to buy based on what that means. I am proud. I'm glad that Sea of Stars won like best indie game or something, because that game was fantastic. Shout out to you, chat, because someone in chat told me about Sea of Stars and I went and played it, and it did, in fact, it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it. So, well, that's why I don't agree. I don't think. I think from a outer perspective of what the Game Awards shows, yeah, okay, maybe it seems like he's got a lot of power, but I don't think it matters. If he says a trash game is good, doesn't mean gamers are going to suddenly play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting though. It's obviously a big, like when people look back, they'll look back on these giant events where these companies spent, literally tens of millions of dollars every year to try to win the favor of these, game journalists or whatever. And my argument was always that there was an opportunity to move away from this many years ago, but the ESA was making way too much money with E3, and now it's finally gone. So rest in peace, E3. But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.